What do you think is the most valuable currency in the world? Well, contrary to popular belief, it's not Bitcoin, not stocks, not gold, not real estate either. The answer is actually attention. Your attention. And the truth is, every scroll, every click, every second you spend staring at a screen is money in someone else's pocket. In 2024, Meta made $164.5 billion in revenue. That's more than the GDP of most countries. Global advertising hit $1.4 trillion in just 2025 alone. Now we're talking about an entire economy built off of just one thing: getting you to pay attention. And the fuel powering this trillion-dollar industry? Well, that would be dopamine. Now, before we get too into the weeds here, I need to be honest with all of you. I struggle with this to this day. I mean, I've deleted Instagram 5 times, re-downloaded it 5 more times. I've tried every screen time limit, every app blocker, every digital well-being platform the internet has to offer. And you know what happens? 2 days later, I'm back scrolling through meaningless videos watching someone make the thickest smoothie bowl at 12 in the morning, just wondering where the last few hours went. So this isn't a talk where I stand up here and pretend like I figured it all out, because I haven't. This is a constant uphill battle, and some days I lose. But what I have figured out is that the solution to this lies in understanding what's happening inside our brains and just who is profiting from it. Because when you start to understand the game, you can start playing it differently. So let me clarify something. When I say they're selling your attention, I'm not talking about some nameless, intangible villain. I'm talking about real businesses with real names and real revenue models. Meta, aka Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, and Threads, earned $46.8 billion in just 3 months in advertising revenues. Google, $264.5 billion annually. TikTok's previous parent company ByteDance, $32 to $33 billion in just 2025 alone. These are real companies affecting real people, and their business model is actually simpler than you might think. The longer you stay, the more ads they show you, and the more ads they show you, the more money they make. But the thing is, it's not just social media anymore. Retail media, or the ads you see while scrolling through Amazon or Walmart, was projected to bring in $178.2 billion in just 2025, surpassing TV advertising for the first time. You're scrolling through Amazon looking for a pair of headphones or a new Labubu, and every advertisement that you see for a sponsored product and every customer's also bought section is your attention actively being monetized. The attention economy is here, and it's bigger than you might think. So how do they do it? How do these companies keep us hooked? Well, the answer is through dopamine. And to understand dopamine comprehensively, we need to talk about casinos. Now, I know it's a little taboo for a high school student to be talking about casinos and gambling, but the business model of this and the business model of attention are just too similar to not talk about. So here's the fun thing about casinos. They're actually not designed for you to win. Shocking, right? Can you believe that? They're actually designed for you to stay. And the way they keep you there is there's something called variable rewards. In the 1950s, psychologist B.F. Skinner discovered that if you give rats food every time they press a lever, they press it a predictable amount. But if you make that reward random, like sometimes a lot of food, sometimes a little bit of food, sometimes none at all, the rats become obsessed. They start pressing the lever compulsively, unable to stop, because they never knew when the next reward was coming. Sound familiar? Mm-hmm. This is exactly what happens when you scroll. You scroll past 1, 2, maybe 3 boring videos, then suddenly, bam! You're hit with something hilarious or shocking or perfectly relatable, and your brain gets a hit of dopamine. That leads you to think, okay, Maybe just one more video. The next one could be even better. But what most people think is that dopamine creates pleasure, which isn't necessarily true. What it does is it motivates actions that lead to pleasure. It's the anticipation, not the reward itself. That's why you can scroll for hours and still feel hollow afterwards. You were always chasing a feeling that was just one scroll away. And the companies know this. Slot machines use this exact same psychology. Multi-line slots even created the losses disguised as wins, like if you bet $5 but only win back $2. The machine still lights up and plays celebratory music like you just won the jackpot. Your brain gets a hit of dopamine even though you just lost money. TikTok videos, Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts, they all do this. They create the near-miss effect, which is when the content is almost exactly what you wanted, but not quite, which keeps you engaged even longer. The problem is, though, the more and more you use these platforms, the more tolerance your brain develops for the levels of dopamine they release. The same content that used to excite you stops working. So you need longer sessions, bigger risks, more extreme and exciting content to get that same level of dopamine that you got previously. Gamblers know this. They call this the dark flow, which is a trance-like state where players get absorbed for hours without realizing it. You've been there. We all have. You open Instagram just for a second and then suddenly 3 or 4 hours pass by and you can't even remember what you just watched. You may think that's by accident, but it's not. That is by intentional design. Now, if you confront these companies about this, they'll say, well, it's your choice. We're just providing entertainment. You can turn it off anytime. And technically, they're right. You can turn it off anytime. You can delete the apps whenever you want. But these platforms harvest massive amounts of personal data about you, from your browsing history, your social connections, your location, even how long you pause on certain content. They use that data to build psychological profiles of you. They know exactly what makes you click, scroll, and stay. So saying that it's your choice when a billion-dollar algorithm is custom designed to psychologically exploit your weaknesses is like putting a slot machine in front of someone with a gambling problem and saying, well, no one forced you to pull the lever. Yes, it's technically a choice, but it's not a fair fight. Okay, I know what you're thinking at this point. Yeah, phones are evil, social media is designed to addict us, blah, blah, blah. I've heard this before. And you're probably right. You probably have heard this before. This isn't new. Everyone's talked about it. So let's just skip the part where I tell you to just be more mindful because, frankly, that's useless and that's not going to do anything. So the question is, how do we actually effectively combat this? Well, the truth is, the tools have been right in front of our faces this entire time. But these are not magic fixes. They're tools. And like any tools, they only work if you choose to use them. Now, this first one is a little bit funky, but I promise you it works. Turn your entire phone screen to grayscale. Make your entire phone screen black, white, and gray. Now, why does this work? Well, because app designers specifically use bright and saturated colors to trigger the dopamine in your brain. Instagram's red notification dot, TikTok's vibrant videos. These are specifically engineered to be irresistible. Studies show that when people switch to grayscale for just 1 week, they use their phones 20 to 40 minutes less per day. That's 5 hours back in your life in just 1 week. Over the course of a month, that's 20 hours back in your life. And the best part about this is your phone doesn't shut off. You can still text, check your calendar, use your maps. You just won't want to scroll through TikTok for 2.5 hours because frankly, it looks boring in black and white. Now, this next one is also fairly simple in principle. Simply delete the apps from your home screen. That's right, it's as simple as that. Don't delete it from your phone, just from your home screen. Right now, opening Instagram takes 1 tap. It's instant and automatic. You can probably do it without even thinking about it. But if you had to swipe to the app library, search for Instagram, and then open it, that adds a few extra seconds. And in those few extra seconds, your brain has time to ask, wait, what am I doing? Am I really opening Instagram because I want to, or am I just bored? Research on smartphone intervention shows that adding even small amounts of friction significantly reduces smartphone usage. That's because most of the time we're only opening apps just because they're right in front of our faces. It's just convenient. Now, a couple of tools like these aren't going to solve everything overnight. Certainly not. This is a constant uphill battle. And like I said earlier, everyone's talked about this at least once, or heard from their parents at least once. But by doing this and by being more conscious, it puts you back in control of your own attention. They design an environment where the default choice is one that serves you, not the algorithm. Look, I get it. This is hard. We live in a world that's designed to steal our attention. Everything is literally trying to take our focus, and it's done so by some of the smartest people in the world. But the good news is, you are smarter than the algorithm. You just have to start treating your attention like what it is, currency. Because the fact of the matter is, your attention is the most valuable thing you own. It's more valuable than money because you can technically always make back more money. But time, attention, once that's gone, it's gone for good. So the next time you feel that urge to pull out your phone and check to see what you missed or scroll just to scroll, stop. Ask yourself, is this really where I want to be spending my attention right now? Because every moment that you give to that screen is a moment that you're not giving to something else. Your relationships, your goals, your life. The dopamine casino will always be there waiting for you, but so will everything else. So choose wisely. Thank you.